Have you noticed that the older you get, the more you hear the word maintenance? We maintain our homes, our cars, our finances. But the one thing we rarely talk about maintaining is the one thing that makes everything else possible. There's a reason some people seem to carry their energy and clarity well into their later years, while others lose it decades earlier. It's not luck. It's not genetics alone. And it's certainly not found in any pill or potion. The difference lies in something far more fundamental, something hiding in plain sight that most of us have been overlooking our entire lives. What if the secret to aging well isn't about adding more, but about understanding what your body has been trying to tell you all along? You are listening to the Longevity Library, where we archive the wisdom of healthy aging. The art of living well. Understanding your body's built-in wisdom for healthy aging. There is a question that becomes more interesting with each passing year. What does it actually mean to age well? Not just to grow older, but to maintain the kind of vitality that allows you to fully participate in your own life. To wake up with energy. To move without discomfort. To think clearly. And to feel genuinely well in your own body. This question has occupied human minds for thousands of years. Ancient texts from virtually every culture contain observations about how to live in a way that supports long-term health. What's striking is how much agreement exists across these traditions. Despite their geographic and historical separation, they noticed patterns. They observed what happened to people who lived certain ways versus others. And they passed those observations down. Modern research has given us new language to describe what those ancient observers saw. We can now talk about cellular processes and hormonal responses in ways they couldn't. But the underlying patterns remain remarkably consistent. The body has built-in wisdom, systems that maintain, repair, and regenerate when given the right conditions. The art of living well, at any age, involves understanding those systems and creating the conditions they need to do their work. This is not about complicated protocols or extreme measures. It is not about reversing aging or stopping time. It is about aligning your daily life with the way your body was designed to function. When you do that, the results often look like what we call healthy aging, not because you've fought against nature, but because you've finally started working with it. The body is a garden. Think of your body as a garden. A garden left entirely alone will eventually become overgrown with whatever happens to blow in on the wind. Some of those plants may be beneficial, others less so. But a garden that receives regular attention, not frantic intervention, but steady, thoughtful care, will tend to produce what you hope for. The soil matters most. In a garden, if the soil is depleted, no amount of watering or pruning will produce robust plants. In your body, the cellular environment, what researchers call the internal milieu, determines how well every system functions. This environment includes the fluid surrounding your cells, the nutrients available to them, the signals they receive from hormones and nerves, and the waste products that need to be carried away. When this internal environment is balanced, your cells can do what they're supposed to do. They can generate energy efficiently, communicate with each other, repair damage, and replace themselves when necessary. When the environment becomes unbalanced, too acidic, too inflammatory, too depleted of certain nutrients, too burdened with waste, every cellular process becomes more difficult. The garden metaphor helps explain why simple interventions often produce such significant results. Improving the soil affects every plant. Improving your internal environment affects every cell, every tissue, every organ system. You don't need to target each problem individually if you address the conditions that allow problems to develop in the first place. The science of maintenance. Your body contains trillions of cells, each one a tiny, living entity. These cells perform specific jobs based on their location and type. Liver cells detoxify. Heart cells contract rhythmically. Immune cells patrol for threats. Brain cells process information. Despite their different roles, all cells share certain fundamental needs and face similar challenges. One of the most significant challenges cells face is damage accumulation. Over time, proteins can become misshapen. DNA can develop errors. Organelles, the tiny structures inside cells that perform specific functions, can wear out. Waste products can build up. If this damage accumulates unchecked, cells eventually function poorly or die. Your body has sophisticated systems for dealing with this damage. Think of them as cellular maintenance crews that constantly patrol, identifying problems and fixing them. Some crews refold misshapen proteins. Others break down damaged organelles and recycle their components. Still others identify cells too damaged to save and initiate their orderly removal. These maintenance systems require energy and resources. When you're constantly eating and digesting food, your body directs significant resources toward processing incoming nutrients. The maintenance crews work, but they're not the priority. When you go for periods without food, whether overnight or for longer stretches, your body shifts resources toward maintenance. This shift explains why extended periods between meals have been associated with various health benefits throughout human history. The cleanest description of this process comes from researchers studying what happens to cells during periods of nutrient scarcity. When energy intake stops, cells begin to look inward for resources. They start recycling components that aren't performing optimally. They become more efficient at identifying and eliminating waste. This internal housekeeping appears to be one of the most powerful mechanisms for maintaining cellular health over time. The rhythm of feast and famine. Human beings evolved in environments where food was not constantly available. Our ancestors experienced natural cycles of plenty and scarcity. During times of plenty, the body stored energy. During times of scarcity, it lived off those stores. This rhythm is built into our biology. Modern life has largely eliminated that rhythm for most people in developed countries. Food is available at any hour, in any season, often within arm's reach. Many people eat from the moment they wake until shortly before they sleep. The body never enters the scarcity phase, never shifts fully into maintenance mode. This constant availability has consequences. Without periods without food, the body never fully activates its cellular maintenance systems. Energy storage continues unchecked. Insulin, the hormone that signals cells to take up glucose from the blood, remains elevated for longer periods. Over time, cells can become less responsive to insulin signals, leading to higher circulating levels and further metabolic disruption. The solution is not to starve yourself or adopt extreme eating patterns. It is simply to reintroduce some rhythm into your relationship with food. To allow your body regular periods without incoming calories so it can perform the maintenance tasks that keep systems running smoothly. For many people, this means nothing more than extending the natural overnight fast. If you finish dinner by 7 in the evening and don't eat again until 7 the next morning, you've already fasted for 12 hours. Pushing breakfast to 8 or 9 extends that fast to 13 or 14 hours. These modest extensions are enough to begin shifting the body's priorities toward maintenance. Longer fasts, 24 hours or more, produce more pronounced effects, but they're not necessary for everyone. The principle is what matters. Regular periods without food allow your body to do things it cannot do when it's constantly processing incoming calories. What happens when you drink? During periods without food, what you consume becomes particularly important because your body is in a sensitive state. It's scanning for signals about whether the fast continues or has ended. Even substances without calories can influence this scanning process. Water stands alone as the perfect beverage during any period without food. It contains nothing for the body to process or respond to. It simply provides the fluid all cells need to function properly. When you drink water during a fast, you're supporting your body's maintenance work without interrupting it. The importance of water goes beyond simple hydration. Your cells exist in a fluid environment, and the composition of that fluid matters tremendously. Metabolic waste products, the natural byproducts of cellular activity, accumulate in the spaces around cells. Water helps dilute these wastes and carry them to the kidneys for elimination. Without adequate water, waste concentrations rise, potentially interfering with cellular function. Think of it as rinsing versus soaking. If you soak a dish in soapy water, the dirt loosens but remains in the water. If you rinse it under clean running water, the dirt gets carried away. Drinking water throughout a fast provides that rinsing effect, continuously carrying away the metabolic debris your cells produce. Other beverages require more careful consideration. Coffee and tea, despite containing no calories, introduce compounds your body must process. The caffeine in both beverages has a mild effect on a hormone called antidiuretic hormone, which normally tells your kidneys to retain water. Caffeine slightly suppresses this hormone, meaning you lose a bit more fluid than you would from water alone. For most people, this effect is modest, but it's worth knowing. The plant compounds in coffee and tea also require processing by your liver. Your liver handles these compounds as it would any other substance, using energy and resources. During a period when you want your body focused on internal maintenance, adding compounds that require processing may slightly shift resources away from other tasks. Again, the effect is modest for most people, but it exists. The question of additions. Small additions to water, a splash of lemon juice, a spoonful of apple cider vinegar, occupy a gray area. They contain minimal calories, typically 5 or fewer per serving. But they also contain compounds that may influence your body's response to fasting. Apple cider vinegar provides an interesting example. It contains acetic acid, a short-chain fatty acid that your body can use for energy without raising blood sugar. Some research suggests that acetic acid may improve how cells respond to insulin, potentially supporting the metabolic benefits of time without food. It may also serve as food for beneficial bacteria in your gut, supporting the microbiome during periods when no other food is entering the digestive tract. Lemon juice provides vitamin C and various plant compounds with minimal sugar. A teaspoon in a large glass of water adds negligible calories while making the water more pleasant to drink, which may encourage better hydration throughout the day. The key with any addition is quantity. A small amount, a teaspoon in a tall glass, provides the flavor and compounds you're seeking without delivering enough calories to trigger significant metabolic changes. Larger amounts begin to approach the threshold where your body notices incoming resources and adjusts its priorities accordingly. Some additions clearly cross this threshold. Milk or cream in coffee, even in modest amounts, provides protein and fat that your body will process. Sugar, honey, or any sweetener provides carbohydrates that will raise blood sugar and provoke an insulin response. These substances end the fasted state, at least temporarily, and shift your body back toward processing incoming nutrients rather than performing internal maintenance. The special case of fat. Fat occupies a unique position among nutrients because it has minimal effect on insulin. Protein triggers a moderate insulin response. Carbohydrates trigger a significant insulin response, depending on their type and quantity. Fat triggers almost none. This fact has led some people to include small amounts of fat during their fasting periods. A teaspoon of MCT oil in coffee, or a small pat of butter, provides energy without raising blood sugar or provoking much insulin release. For someone struggling to maintain their fasting schedule, this small amount of fat may make the difference between abandoning the fast and extending it successfully. Medium-chain triglyceride oil deserves special mention because its structure differs from most dietary fats. Typical fats contain long chains of carbon atoms. MCT oil contains shorter chains, which allows it to be absorbed more quickly and converted to energy faster. In some ways, it acts almost like a carbohydrate in terms of energy availability, yet it doesn't trigger the insulin response carbohydrates do. Butter provides longer-chain fats that absorb more slowly. Many people find it more palatable than MCT oil, and the satisfaction it provides may help them adhere to their fasting schedule. The key is understanding that these fats don't enhance fasting. They simply make it more tolerable for some people. If you're new to longer periods without food, and you find yourself becoming irritable, hungry, or mentally foggy before your intended stopping time, a small amount of fat may help you extend. The minimal metabolic disruption is likely worth the benefit of maintaining your schedule. If you're already comfortable with your fasting periods, adding fat provides no additional benefit and may slightly reduce the maintenance activities your body would otherwise perform. Understanding protein's power. Protein triggers a more significant response than fat. When protein enters your digestive tract, your body releases hormones that signal the arrival of amino acids, the building blocks protein provides. These hormones influence metabolism, appetite, and cellular maintenance activities. The relationship between protein and cellular maintenance is particularly important. One of the strongest signals to increase maintenance activities, specifically the process of cellular cleanup known as autophagy, is protein scarcity. When your body detects that no new amino acids are arriving, it becomes more aggressive about finding and recycling existing cellular components that aren't performing optimally. This explains why even modest protein intake during a fast can significantly reduce some of the benefits. Your body senses the incoming amino acids and reduces its scavenging activity. The perceived scarcity has ended, even if the actual amount of protein is small relative to your daily needs. Bone broth illustrates this principle perfectly. A cup of bone broth typically contains about 10 grams of protein. During normal eating, when you consume 60 to 100 grams of protein daily, 10 grams barely registers. During a fast, however, that 10 grams represents a significant signal that protein is again available. Your body responds by reducing the cellular maintenance activities that depend on protein scarcity. This doesn't mean bone broth has no place. If your primary goal involves supporting your digestive tract, the collagen and specific amino acids in bone broth may provide direct benefits. You're making a choice, supporting gut repair over maximizing cellular maintenance. For some people at some times, that's exactly the right choice. The principle extends beyond bone broth to any significant protein source. Protein powders, collagen supplements, even protein-rich beverages will all trigger similar responses. If your goal involves maximizing the maintenance activities that occur during periods without food, you'll want to minimize protein intake during those periods. The sugar problem. Sugar presents a more straightforward case. During periods without food, you want to avoid it entirely. The reasons go beyond calories to the fundamental metabolic effects of sugar consumption. When sugar enters your bloodstream, and liquid sugars enter faster than those bound up in whole foods, your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin's job is to signal cells to take up that sugar for immediate use or storage. This insulin release completely disrupts the fasted state. Your body shifts from burning stored fat to burning incoming sugar. The hormonal environment changes. Cellular maintenance activities decrease. The sugar in fruit juices illustrates the problem clearly. A cup of orange juice contains about 20 grams of sugar, roughly 5 teaspoons. This sugar arrives in your bloodstream quickly because the fiber that would slow absorption in whole fruit has been removed. Your insulin response will be correspondingly rapid and significant. Green juices vary depending on their ingredients. Juices made primarily from vegetables with minimal fruit may contain only 5 grams of sugar per cup. While this is less than fruit juice, it's still sugar arriving in liquid form, still provoking an insulin response, still disrupting the fasted state. Coconut water has been marketed as a natural electrolyte beverage, but it typically contains about 11 grams of sugar per cup. The minerals it provides, while beneficial, don't justify the sugar load during a period when you're trying to maintain a fasted state. The practical guidance is simple. During periods without food, consume nothing that tastes sweet. This includes naturally sweet beverages, artificially sweetened beverages, and anything containing sugar in any form. Sweet taste itself may trigger cephalic phase insulin release, a small insulin response triggered by taste receptors before sugar even reaches your bloodstream. The electrolyte balance. Proper hydration involves more than just water volume. It involves the balance of dissolved minerals, electrolytes, that allow water to move where it's needed and perform its functions. Your body regulates fluid distribution by moving electrolytes across cell membranes. Sodium and potassium are the primary players. When your body wants to move water into a particular area, it first moves sodium or potassium there, and water follows passively. Think of electrolytes as the handles your cells use to pull water where it's needed. During periods without food, several factors can disrupt electrolyte balance. As you deplete stored carbohydrates, you lose the water that was stored alongside them. Falling insulin levels affect how your kidneys handle sodium. Lower insulin means your kidneys excrete more sodium. If you're drinking more water than usual without increasing electrolyte intake, you may dilute your remaining electrolytes. The symptoms of electrolyte imbalance can mimic the side effects people often attribute to fasting itself. Headache, fatigue, dizziness, muscle cramps. These can all result from electrolytes being out of balance rather than from any problem with the fast itself. Sodium is the most critical electrolyte to consider. Most people need about 2 to 3 grams daily during longer periods without food. This can be obtained by adding a pinch of high-quality salt to water throughout the day. Table salt works perfectly well, though some people prefer sea salt or Himalayan salt for their trace mineral content. Potassium is equally important but harder to supplement because concentrated potassium can irritate the stomach. Many people benefit from electrolyte powders that provide balanced sodium and potassium, or from consuming small amounts of potassium-rich foods if they're doing a modified fast that allows some calories. Magnesium supports hundreds of enzymatic reactions in the body and often becomes depleted during longer fasts. Trace minerals like calcium, zinc, and manganese play supporting roles in various physiological processes. When electrolyte balance is maintained, the experience of longer periods without food often improves dramatically. The mental clarity many people seek from fasting becomes more accessible. The physical discomfort that sometimes accompanies extended fast diminishes. Proper hydration, meaning proper electrolyte balance plus adequate water, supports all the processes that make time without food beneficial. The movement connection. The body's maintenance systems don't operate in isolation. They're influenced by everything you do, including how you move. Physical activity creates conditions that support the cellular processes discussed earlier. When you move your muscles, you create mild, temporary stress on your cells. This stress signals your body to strengthen those cells, to improve their energy production, to enhance their ability to handle future demands. The maintenance crews become more active, not less, in response to this stress. The type of movement matters less than the consistency. Walking, gardening, swimming, dancing, strength training, all provide signals that your body needs to maintain its capabilities. The key is finding movement you can sustain over years. not pushing yourself to extremes you can't maintain. Weight-bearing movement deserves special attention as we age. Bones respond to the stress of bearing weight by maintaining their density. Muscles respond to resistance by maintaining their mass and function. Joints respond to movement by maintaining their lubrication and range of motion. The principle is consistent. Use it or lose it applies to virtually every system in your body. The relationship between movement and time without food is worth understanding. When you move during a period without food, your body must rely on stored energy rather than incoming calories. This reliance on stored fat for fuel is exactly what many people seek from fasting. Movement accelerates this process and enhances the metabolic flexibility that allows your body to switch smoothly between fuel sources. Gentle movement, walking, easy cycling, stretching, is particularly well suited to periods without food. Intense exercise during a fast can be challenging because your body prefers carbohydrates for high-intensity output. But moderate movement complements the fasted state beautifully, supporting all the maintenance processes you're trying to encourage. The nervous system's role. Your nervous system connects everything. It monitors conditions inside and outside your body and adjusts your physiology accordingly. It determines whether you're in a state of rest and repair or a state of alert and action. These states have profoundly different effects on your cellular maintenance systems. The rest and repair state, governed by what's often called the parasympathetic nervous system, is when your body does its deepest maintenance. Digestion proceeds efficiently. Cellular repair processes activate. Inflammation is kept in check. This is the state in which healing happens. The alert and action state, governed by the sympathetic nervous system, prepares your body for challenges. Blood flow redirects to muscles and away from digestive organs. Stress hormones increase. Inflammation temporarily rises. This state is essential for responding to genuine threats, but becomes problematic when it's chronically activated. Modern life tends to keep people in the alert state more than is healthy. Constant notifications, news cycles that emphasize threat, work demands that never fully cease, all signal your nervous system that challenges persist. Your body responds by maintaining some level of alertness, which means it never fully shifts into the deep repair state. Practices that support nervous system balance become increasingly important with age. Simple, consistent approaches work best. A few minutes of deliberate slow breathing. A walk without a phone. A few moments of quiet before sleep. These aren't exotic interventions, but they signal your nervous system that it's safe to shift into repair mode. The relationship between nervous system state and fasting is bidirectional. Fasting itself can initially activate the alert state. Your body perceives lack of food as a mild stressor. But as you adapt, and as you maintain electrolyte balance and adequate hydration, fasting often promotes the calm, clear state associated with good nervous system function. The social dimension. Humans evolved as social creatures. Our biology assumes we'll live in communities, surrounded by people we know and trust. This social environment affects our physiology in ways that are only beginning to be understood. Positive social connection activates the same rest and repair nervous system state mentioned earlier. When you're with people you trust, when you feel understood and accepted, your body shifts toward maintenance and repair. Stress hormones decrease. Inflammation moderates. Healing processes accelerate. Social isolation has the opposite effect. Loneliness activates the alert state, signaling that you're alone and potentially vulnerable. Stress hormones increase. Inflammation rises. Cellular maintenance decreases. These effects are measurable and significant, comparable in some studies to the effects of smoking or obesity on certain health markers. The quality of social connections matters more than quantity. A few deep relationships provide more physiological benefit than many superficial ones. Feeling genuinely known and accepted by even one or two people supports the nervous system state that allows repair to occur. This doesn't mean everyone needs to be an extrovert or maintain a large social circle. It means that nurturing the connections you have and seeking opportunities for genuine connection supports all the other efforts you make toward healthy aging. The cellular processes discussed earlier don't happen in isolation. They're influenced by your emotional and social environment. The purpose factor. Beyond social connection, humans need a sense of purpose. We need to feel that our lives matter, that we have something to offer, that our presence makes a difference. This need is not merely psychological. It has physiological consequences. People who report a strong sense of purpose show different patterns of stress hormone regulation, different inflammatory profiles, different cardiovascular function than those who feel adrift. The mechanisms aren't fully understood, but the associations are consistent across multiple studies. Purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It can be tending a garden, helping with grandchildren, volunteering at a local organization, maintaining a skill or craft, sharing knowledge with others. The key is feeling that your actions matter to someone, that you're part of something larger than yourself. As people age and work roles change, the purpose question often becomes more salient. Work provides structure and meaning for many people, and when work ends, that structure needs replacement. People who navigate this transition successfully often find new outlets for their energy and attention that provide similar meaning. The relationship between purpose and the cellular processes discussed earlier may run through the nervous system. Purpose provides a reason to get up in the morning, to engage with life, to maintain health. This engagement signals your nervous system that you're still in the game, still need your body to function well. The alternative, withdrawal and disengagement, signals that maintenance matters less. The environmental context. Your body exists in constant exchange with your environment. The air you breathe, the water you drink, the surfaces you touch, the light that enters your eyes, all influence your physiology in ways large and small. Light deserves particular attention because it sets your internal clocks. Your cells have circadian rhythms, daily cycles of activity and rest that are synchronized primarily by light exposure. Bright light in the morning signals that the active phase has begun. Dim light in the evening signals that it's time to prepare for rest. When these rhythms are disrupted by too much light at night, too little during the day, irregular schedules, every system in your body is affected. Sleep suffers. Hormone patterns shift. Metabolism changes. Cellular maintenance processes that normally occur during rest are disrupted. The practical guidance is simple but powerful. Seek bright light during the day, ideally outdoors. Dim lights in the evening. Avoid bright screens for an hour or two before sleep. These practices support the circadian rhythms that coordinate all your body's activities. Air quality matters too, though it's harder to control individually. Indoor air can be more polluted than outdoor air, depending on your location and activities. Simple measures like opening windows when possible, using exhaust fans in kitchens and bathrooms, and avoiding synthetic fragrances can improve the air you breathe indoors. The broader environment, your neighborhood, your community, your region, also affects your health in ways that can be hard to separate from individual choices. Walkable neighborhoods encourage movement. Access to fresh food supports better nutrition. Green space reduces stress. These environmental factors create the context in which individual health behaviors occur. The integration of wisdom. What emerges from examining all these factors is a coherent picture of healthy aging. It's not about any single intervention or extreme measure. It's about creating conditions across multiple domains of life that allow your body's built-in wisdom to express itself. Your body wants to maintain itself. It wants to repair damage, clear waste, generate energy, and function well. It has systems for doing all these things. Systems refined over millions of years of evolution. The question is whether you're providing the conditions those systems need to operate. Regular periods without food allow maintenance systems to activate. Adequate hydration with balanced electrolytes supports every cellular process. Movement signals that capabilities need to be maintained. Nervous system balance determines whether you're in repair mode or alert mode. Social connection and purpose provide the emotional context that supports physiological health. Environmental factors create the background against which all else occurs. These factors work together. They're not separate interventions to be checked off a list. They're interlocking elements of a way of living that supports healthy aging. Improving any one of them improves the context for all the others. The practical path. Translating this understanding into daily life doesn't require perfection. It requires direction, a general sense of where you're heading, and a willingness to take steps in that direction. Start with the rhythm of eating and not eating. If you currently eat from waking until sleep, consider simply closing the kitchen after dinner. Allow 12 hours between your last evening meal and your first morning meal. If that feels comfortable, consider extending to 13 or 14 hours. This simple change alone allows your body regular periods for maintenance. Pay attention to what you drink during those periods without food. Water should be your primary beverage. If you drink coffee or tea, keep them simple and unsweetened. If you need flavor, a small amount of lemon or apple cider vinegar in water adds minimal calories while making hydration more pleasant. Consider your electrolyte intake, especially if you're extending periods without food beyond the typical overnight fast. A pinch of salt in your water throughout the day can prevent the headaches and fatigue that sometimes accompany longer fasts. Comprehensive electrolyte products can provide additional support if needed. Move your body regularly in ways you can sustain. Walking is perhaps the most underrated health intervention available. It requires no equipment, no special skills, no gym membership. It can be done anywhere, at any time, alone or with others. And it provides signals to virtually every system in your body that maintenance matters. Pay attention to your nervous system. Notice when you're in alert mode versus repair mode. Create small pockets of calm throughout your day, a few conscious breaths, a moment of quiet, a short walk without purpose other than movement. These small pauses signal your body that it's safe to shift toward repair. Nurture your connections. Reach out to people who matter to you. Invest time in relationships that feel genuine. Find ways to contribute that feel meaningful. These investments pay dividends across all the other domains of health. Attend to your environment. Seek light during the day, darkness at night. Improve your air where you can. Create spaces that feel calming rather than chaotic. The environment you inhabit shapes your physiology continuously, often without your conscious awareness. The long view. Healthy aging is not a destination you reach. It's a direction you maintain. There is no point at which you've done enough and can stop paying attention. The practices that support health are ongoing. Not because health is fragile and requires constant defense, but because life itself is ongoing. The body you inhabit today is not the same body you inhabited last year. Cells have been replaced. Tissues have been remodeled. Experiences have been encoded. The body is always in process, always becoming. Your choices shape that becoming, not by fighting against nature, but by working with the nature you have. This perspective relieves some of the pressure that often accompanies health advice. You don't need to get everything right immediately. You don't need to follow a perfect protocol. You simply need to understand the principles and apply them as best you can, most of the time. over the long arc of your life. The principles themselves are simple, even ancient. Move regularly. Rest adequately. Eat and fast in rhythm. Connect with others. Find meaning. Attend to your environment. These are not new discoveries. They're confirmations of what humans have observed about healthy living for thousands of years. What's new is our understanding of why these principles work. We can now describe the cellular maintenance systems that activate during periods without food. We can trace the hormonal pathways that connect social connection to physiological health. We can measure the effects of light on circadian rhythms. The underlying wisdom isn't new, but our ability to explain it has grown. This understanding can serve as motivation, but it need not become obsession. The goal is not to optimize every variable into oblivion. The goal is to live well, to feel well, to maintain the capacity to participate fully in your own life. The practices described here support that goal, but they're not the goal itself. The calm in knowing. There is a certain peace that comes from understanding how your body works. When you know that periods without food allow cellular maintenance, the mild hunger you might feel becomes not a problem to solve, but a signal that maintenance is occurring. When you know that electrolytes support hydration, the slight headache that sometimes accompanies longer fasts becomes not a reason to stop, but a signal to adjust. This knowledge doesn't eliminate all discomfort or difficulty, but it reframes how you experience the normal challenges of living in a body. The body has always had its quirks and demands. Understanding why doesn't make them disappear, but it can make them more tolerable, even interesting. The calm that comes with this understanding extends beyond the physical. When you know that nervous system balance affects everything, you might become more protective of your calm. When you know that social connection influences physiology, you might invest more intentionally in relationships. When you know that purpose matters to health, you might give yourself permission to pursue what genuinely matters to you. This is the art of living well with an aging body. Not fighting against time, but working with the body you have, providing the conditions it needs, and appreciating what it can do. The body that has carried you through decades of life deserves this kind of attention, not frantic intervention, but steady, knowledgeable care. The research continues. New discoveries will refine our understanding of how the body maintains itself and how we can support those processes. But the fundamental principles are unlikely to change. They're too deeply rooted in how life works, how cells function, how organisms persist over time. You already have within you everything needed to age well. Your body knows how to maintain itself. Your cells know how to repair damage. Your systems know how to balance and regulate. The question is whether you're providing the conditions that allow this innate wisdom to express itself fully. The answer to that question is not complicated, though it requires attention. Regular periods without food. Adequate hydration with balanced electrolytes. Consistent movement. Nervous system balance. Social connection. Sense of purpose. Attentiveness to environment. These are not exotic requirements. They're simply the conditions under which your body's built-in wisdom can do what it has always done: maintain, repair, and sustain the life that moves through you. This is the path. It has always been the path, and it remains available to you, starting exactly where you are, with exactly what you have. If there's one idea to carry forward from our time together, it's this. Your body already knows how to maintain itself. It has for millions of years, and your task is simply to create the conditions that allow that innate wisdom to do its work. Not through perfection, not through extreme measures, but through the quiet consistency of daily choices that honor the remarkable systems carrying you through life. We'd love to hear what resonated with you, what questions arose, or simply what you're reflecting on as you consider your own path forward. The comments below are a space for thoughtful conversation among fellow travelers on this journey. And if you found value in today's exploration, you're welcome to explore the other volumes in our library and subscribe so you never miss new wisdom as it's archived. This is the Longevity Library. Listen, learn, and live longer.